Hey, podcast listeners, it's TJ.
And Julie.
And in episode 70 of the Pixar Post podcast, we're going to kick off our behind-the-scenes look at Onward, diving into the fantastic, the wild, the adventure.
Grand and glorious quest that is Onward.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to share actually our group interview with when you went out for the press event for Onward with Dan Scanlon and Kori Rae as far as the group session. Mm-hmm. But then you also had a one-on-one interview with them, and we're going to share that as well. So we're going to get some additional behind-the-scenes stuff, because what's really cool is in the questions that you asked, they were, of course, not in the group session, because why would you ask the same question again? But there's some pretty cool personal stuff that you get into with Dan.
Yeah.
I thought it was really neat. And this is our first time that we had a one-on-one with the director and producer paired together.
Yes, because, we've talked to quite a few directors, I feel like, over the phone now.
Yes.
Phone interviews.
Yeah, we've done individual things.
And we've spoke to them like at the studio, but never had the one-on-one at the studio. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I always get so nervous though.
We'll get into that.
I know we talk about that all the time, but oh my gosh, like I feel nervous now just talking about it. I'm like getting like my anxious nervous.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it because I have a funny comment for you about that too, because I got to listen to the recordings.
I know, because I play it from the moment I get in there and I'm just like, hi, I know I've met you like 100 times, but I'm really nervous.
So, yes, like I said, I have a good comment for you, but we'll chat about that.
Okay, I'm throwing you off. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's just the intro, you know.
Yes.
But then we're also going to talk about some Disney Plus news. We're going to talk about Forky Asks a Question. We're going to talk some awards chatter. But of course, the majority of this is going to be regarding Onward. So before we get into the real business of this, though, we have to talk about some Pixar trivia.
Oh, no.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, but I did not prepare for yours.
Well, I think you...
I don't have one for you.
Yeah, that's okay. This is easy. If you paid attention during the session when you were at it, this is a note from your interview.
Oh, geez, this session was on Halloween.
It was. Yeah, you went there October
30th through the 31st.
29th and 30th, and then you came back.
Oh, yes,
on the
you're
31st.
right. You're right. It was on the 30th.
Yeah, 29th, 30th. And then,
I took a red eye, so I got home on Halloween.
Yeah, which is crazy, because then you were up super...
yeah, it was a crazy day.
Super long time. Okay, so this quiz question is in regards to actually the interview that we're going to play in the next podcast. We didn't want to cram it all in here because it would be just too much all at once, so we wanted to spread it out. But the next podcast is going to be a story session recording from Kelsey Mann and Maddie Sharafian. But Maddie mentioned the approximate number of storyboards that Onward had. Okay? Mm-hmm. Would you like me to give you options?
Nope.
Okay, so wait a minute. Did you still remember this, or did you happen to, while writing your post or reviewing?
Both.
Okay, so you reviewed it and you got to see it there.
Yes, but I remember the approximate number. But I think I can tell you the exact number.
Well, hang on. For the listeners, I'm going to have to give some options.
Yes.
Because, some people might not know like a range. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give 3 options.
Okay.
Do we think it was the number of storyboards that they wrote, 97,759? Was it 81,924? Or was it 100,856? That's a lot. So basically 97,000, 81,000, or 100,000. I'm rounding down here just to keep it a little easier. But what would you think?
It's 97,000.
97,759. So I was kind of hoping that you didn't get a chance to review those notes ahead of this. But the other numbers that I gave were actually from other movies. So Cars 3 had 81,924, and Dan Scanlon's other film, Monsters University, which at the time was the highest, was 100,856. Now, Finding Dory actually overcame that, and Finding Dory actually was 3,000 above that, so 103,639.
That's crazy.
Toy Story 3, which is what Ed Catmull and Lee Unkrich and several others have said was like a masterclass on how to create a Pixar movie. Like everything they said just went right from the very beginning. had like 41,000 storyboards.
Oh my.
So what I wanted...
That's crazy.
But that's what they said was like delivered to editorial.
Okay, so...
So I don't know if that means like that was different, or was that because it was this masterclass and it was so good? I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll have to look into that. But anyways, so for the other ones, 97,759 for Onward. So in case anybody asks, it's about 100,000 storyboards. Yeah. So get to work.
Phew.
Yeah.
I knew that one.
All right, so let's talk a little bit before we dive into the interview about Disney Plus. So what's coming soon and what has aired on Disney Plus? So January 31st, we've got Lamp Life coming, so that's right around the corner, right around awards time when we've got a lot of different award shows going on. So there's going to be a lot hitting at the end of January. That's also when we're going to start seeing probably a ton more for Soul, and other things that are, well, maybe not a ton more, but we're going to start getting more tastes of things. February 5th, Toy Story.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think that Disney Plus will start like a trailer option? I think that would be a great idea.
Oh, to watch a trailer for the movie?
Yes, to watch Disney, Pixar, Marvel, all the, like trailers for film, like upcoming trailers.
Ooh, that would be awesome.
I think that would be a great idea. Sorry, when you were just talking about like what's upcoming, and I'm like when you said Soul, I was like, well, why isn't that like a feature on Disney Plus?
Holy moly, people, we've got a suggestion for Disney Plus, and
this is groundbreaking, people.
I'm circling this right now.
Isn't that a great idea?
Can you hear my pencil?
Yeah.
I'm circling Disney Plus trailer.
Like just to have a trailer option to just have like, because they're there, and just like the upcoming ones. I mean, I'm sure the upkeep of that might be, the maintenance of that might be tedious, but.
Well, I mean, honestly, what it could do is how they could maintain it is after the film comes out, they could just move the trailers to the extras section. Yeah. And they do have, for movies that are already out, the trailers.
Yeah, but I'm talking. Like
I know you're talking about now.
Upcoming.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, but does it take away from
their YouTube channels?
No. Does it take away from the point of Disney Plus, which is like you can watch it? It's not about like what you can't watch.
That's true.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it is right or wrong. I think it would be awesome to have it in there. I'm just wondering if you're right, because now that you said YouTube as well, is it a YouTube thing where it's like, well, wait a minute, we're going to promote them there?
Yeah.
That creates more chatter because there's the ability to leave comments.
Well, that's true, because everybody can watch YouTube.
Our comments?
Disney Plus, you have to. Oh, yeah, our comments.
Are comments disabled on the new...
Because of the new rules? I haven't even checked.
This is live breaking here. We're going to talk about this for a second here. While that's coming up, why don't you tell us when is Toy Story 4 hitting on Disney Plus?
Isn't it February 5th?
It is.
Which is crazy because we saw that on Oh My Disney. Was it like a video or something?
It was a part of a group video,
that they had posted
10 days ago.
Yeah. And then they took it down really quick. So we didn't like say anything because we're like, oops, someone probably released that a little too quick.
Right. Yeah, we left it quiet.
Yeah. So yeah, you did the post today about it because now it's like official. Like I saw like a screenshot.
Right.
Like it's official.
Okay, so I am on, let me mute this trailer here. I'm on Pixar's official YouTube page for the Onward official trailer number 2, 2.6 million views, and there are comments. So I'm interested because of YouTube's new regulations, where we were going with all this, why we were looking it up. YouTube's new regulations state that because of COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act, that they are no longer going to, if it's considered made for children, going to allow comments, that they're going to be disabled. So that I wonder where, like, is there a difference for corporations?
Yeah, I don't know.
Has Disney, Pixar, like, just not gone in and made that selection? Do they have that selection?
Is it because it's animated, fully animated?
No, because that would be considered for kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anything's labeled for kids, that feature's turned off and there should be no ads. Now, Pixar doesn't have ads that are on there already, so that part is clear. But I wonder from a made-for-kids standpoint how that works. Yeah,
that's an interesting question.
Something we'll have to keep an eye on and see if comments are still there. But yeah, the comments still exist. Some of our videos that were labeled as such, the comments are just gone.
Yeah, they're gone now.
I wonder how that's going to be when we do our next live stream as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know how any of this works now. It's a whole new world. But yeah, so we've got Toy Story 4. Let's shift back to the gears. This
Get
is
back
all
on track.
That was happening live.
Yes.
Like, we're realizing these things as we're talking about this. So Toy Story 4 are going to be just a couple weeks, February 5th, right after, the Oscars are the 9th, right?
Yeah.
So just before the Oscars. So you can squeeze in a final viewing if you don't already own it, right before the Academy Awards air. But the other thing I want to talk about regarding Disney Plus
That's real quick. Super Bowl.
It is your Super Bowl. You love it. The other thing I want to talk about was Forky Asks a Question. So all 10 episodes have aired now. We're going to do a live hangout and discussion, as well as I don't know if we're going to do it live or if we're going to do it like as a YouTube video for you and I. I think it would be kind of fun to do it live just to get other people's comments too. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about, what were our thoughts, what we're going to rank them in order of all of our favorites. But I wanted to get just like a taste for it now for the podcast. What were some of what was your favorite episode? And then what was your least favorite episode? And just so that way...
Oh, I already know without you listing.
Well, I'm going to list them.
Okay.
So other people that are listening can think about it as well. So the first one was What is Money? Then What is a Friend? What is Art? What is Time? What is Love? What is a Computer? What is a Leader? What is a Pet? What is Cheese? What is Reading? So which one was your favorite and which one was the one that you didn't connect with as much?
What is a Friend is my absolute favorite.
Okay, so you like the one where he's like, what?
What? No.
Okay.
My absolute favorite. I think that one, genius.
Okay.
And my least favorite is What is Art? The one right after it.
Okay. So
my favorite is the second. My least favorite was the third.
Yep. Okay.
I was really bummed with that one.
Right. Me too. My favorite was What is a Computer?
Okay.
Just because I love Trixie in that.
Yes, you do.
I don't like... Trixie is not like my favorite character.
No.
I just think that one was hilarious.
You've been talking about like her inflection, just how she acted out that scene.
Yes.
Like her vocal acting.
Yes, absolutely. I think her vocal... I mean, she is a vocal actress...
She's a character actress for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's something about that one that really just... the speed of it, the music for it, the stuff that she was saying off in the distance, shut it, fork. Like, you ruined my life. Like, I love that. Like, I just thought it was Trixie in her environment and she didn't like that he was messing with it. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was funny, like how he was talking about like all the computer crashing stuff with like, ooh, a beach ball. And like, plus I enjoyed when she said, I'm not yelling at it. I'm just talking sternly or, I'm just trying to motivate it sternly or something like that.
Yeah.
But yes, What is Art was my least favorite as well. We kind of talked about it in our post that we have that has all of them written out with like our favorite lines and moments and a screenshot or two. But yeah, it was just the fact that Mr. Pricklepants was not voiced by the original actor. The way he was animated was different.
It wasn't just that his vocal acting didn't line up, but it was clearly off. Like it just didn't sound even close to like him. It wasn't acting like him. His eyes looked like they were glowing like a red-ish color just because of the lighting hitting his eyes. I don't know. Something was just off with that one.
Yeah. So we won't get into too much more in regards to the overall series, but I'm interested for you guys listening to this. Think about what your favorite and least favorite was. Either leave a comment on the post, or once we do the live video, you can join us online and chat about it as well.
Well, I liked it the last one that they did. They kind of left it open, like for a season 2.
Yes. So
and I really liked that because I hope that there's a season 2. Because I did enjoy them.
Oh, for sure.
I know this is silly to say, but I do wish they were longer. I know that's hard because a lot of work goes into them, but I wish they were like 5 minutes, like short films.
I feel like they need to be, and I think like if they do it again,
like I'd be even happy if it was just like 5 of them that were like 5-6 minutes long.
For sure.
Like little tiny short films.
Yeah, and I think like they did this format. Now, if they do it again, it should be switch it up a little bit. Do one that's longer. Let it breathe a little more.
Yeah,
because then you can play in some of the space where you don't have to rush it as much.
Yeah,
and that was the point of these, is to be like fun, fast, and silly. But I think now, let it breathe a little bit and see what can happen. And Bob Peterson was interviewed by Forbes, and I don't recall the other one. I think it was Digital Spy, that he talked about. That they asked, is there going to be more? And Bob kind of flipped it on them and said, well, first he said, I don't know. And then he said, well, do you want more? Nice. So yeah, he, like you said, in the short, he left it open, but then he even said, we're seeing right now, because this is also new for Disney Plus. They're probably getting stats back, seeing how the viewership is on it. Are they watching the full thing? Are they like watch the first episode and then don't come back? They're probably running so many different ways to look at these numbers and then determine if they want to do a season 2. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk more about that interview with Bob Peterson in an upcoming post as well.
And we had the 6th Spark short air too on Disney Loop this past week.
On Disney Loop?
Disney Loop?
Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus.
Yeah, the Loop
short.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about with that?
Well, we did a review about it, and I thought it was a great like Spark short film. I think it's perfect. It was wonderful. It was very beautiful. But we do have a additional post coming out with where we kind of decode some of the artwork within the short film itself.
Ooh, this is your idea on the post.
Yes.
Yeah, you were looking at it and you said, well, what about that?
Yeah. And I just
what made it stand out?
Well, it was clearly artist Paul, is it Abadilla?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul Abadilla.
His artwork, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. I know how to spell it, I just don't know how to pronounce it.
That's true. I mean,
Dia?
I don't, it could be, but I think it's Paul Abadilla.
Okay. So his artwork.
Paul, let us know.
Yeah. His artwork stands out to me, just that very graphic graffiti lettering.
Yeah.
And so I just after watching, Loop numerous times in a loop, I paused it. Yeah, nice. Thanks. I paused it and I was like, oh, hey, I know that. Hey, I connect to that. And I was like, okay, so I wonder if all of the words have a connection.
Okay.
So
you're exploring this. You've gotten some information.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah. So the artwork on the tunnel scene.
Okay.
I'm going to dive into.
So stay tuned this week, right?
This week on Wednesday, the 15th.
Wednesday it'll be released.
Yep.
Anything else regarding Loop?
No, I think we'll dive into that a little bit on a next upcoming one.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it myself as well. I thought it was really good. I thought that I like the fact that they're tackling different types of characters. I think, people have had the conversations in some of the comments as far as are there too many characters? Like another one that has...
Yeah, I saw that too, and Twitter and stuff like that. And it's just but it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like people. It's like people are different and
well, they're different stories from different artists. And It just happens to be the proximity of them both releasing near a similar time. But it's two different artists, two different stories, in different angles.
Yeah, but for Float, I didn't see... For Float, for me, I didn't see autism. I know that's, Bobby's story,
Correct.
His personal story. Yeah, but for me, I just saw our 5-year-old son who can be different at some times and wanting him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, every kid is different. And as a parent, it's really easy to slip into, I didn't take Bobby's Float about autism at all. I took it as it's really easy for a parent to want their kid to very easily and smoothly just fall in line,
yes,
be in the middle, and therefore, you want them to, of course, succeed and exceed.
Yes,
but you
just don't want them.
There's something that's could be labeled as different. It gives you pause, and you say oh, well, maybe we can just nudge that this way. When you should be just saying,
float.
Float.
Yeah.
Support
reach for this guy. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Good way to say it. I got a little bit of chills right there when you were like, just float.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
That's how I took float as. Right. And then like loop, I clearly only see a relationship between a nonverbal autistic girl.
Right.
You know, and how she's communicating with someone who is fine.
Right.
And
she's fine too.
Yeah, she's fine. No, yeah, but I'm just I what are they, neurotypical? Sorry, I couldn't think of the word.
Oh, there you go. All right.
I couldn't think of the word. So you're seeing, you know, a nonverbal autistic girl and then a neurotypical boy and how they form a friendship relationship.
Right.
And I think I put it in like my post how it really is, you know, amazing to see like the eye connection. The 1 second of eye contact in that film made it, and it was perfect. It was beautiful. I love it. I love, you know, Daniel Feinberg did the lighting, which we like gush over her all the time.
Right.
Yeah. We heart her, but it was like a really beautiful film, from the storyline to the beautiful moment to even the woof, 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 you know, and the beautiful sounds on her ringtone making. Right. It was just, it was all very calming. And then, I don't know, I just got you get a real sense if you're not familiar with, and I watch a couple YouTube channels with autistic children and stuff. Fathering Autism is one that I watch. And I found, it's like, I understood like what Renee's character, you know, was feeling. I don't personally understand it, but like I understand like the emotions and everything just from watching other like YouTube families and stuff. And it's just like, it really was very beautifully done.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I think it's one of those ones that like upon first watch, you don't get all the layers and the depth of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that over time you do.
Yeah.
I think you just watch it again. Like on the second watch, because like the first time I was trying to figure it out. Like I was like, okay, what's he going to do here and what's she going to do here? I was trying to like, my mind was always trying to make the next connection. Mm-hmm. And I had to kind of just go with the flow a little bit. So on the second one, when she was just feeling the grasses on her hands and everything, my mind could just relax and just enjoy it for the moment. Mm-hmm. Rather than trying to analyze it. Because with Pixar, it's hard for us too, because the first watch, I'm looking for everything. I'm like, what about this? What's going to happen here? Okay, I got to think about that. I got to do this. So it was nice to be able to be released from that, to just see it and then understand it.
Well, what's funny is you say that because Leo, our 5-year-old son, he watched it when he got home from school that day. And, you know, I explained, you know, to him was he was like, watching it and he's like, oh, she doesn't talk. And I said, yes. You know, I paused it for a second, like when they were in the boat and stuff. And I said, yeah, but she sees the world like differently. She just can't speak. And then when she did the grass scene, he goes over to our plant and he closed his eyes and did touched with his hands. And I thought like, that's beautiful. He's like trying to like understand, like he's seeing that. And he's just saying, I said, oh, cause that like, is like a calming sensation. It's like a sensory thing. And he understands sensory things. He's in kindergarten right now. So they have sensory, you know, buckets and time and stuff. Right. But I just thought that was kind of beautiful when he kind of like as soon as that scene like was over and they were right before they went to the tunnel, he closed his eyes and touched the plant next to the couch.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So you didn't tell me that before.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, it was just kind of cool because he's never, you know, he doesn't understand
No, he doesn't understand it. I mean, there are people that he's come in contact with that have different abilities.
So there's different abilities at his school, but he's never experienced, I don't think, someone who's like completely nonverbal.
Correct.
So I just thought that was what a great opportunity to
have another conversation.
Yeah, to explain to him that, you know, everybody's different, and that's what makes everybody special. That's my favorite phrase that he says.
Yeah, but that's from Daniel Tiger?
I don't think so. It's just, I think maybe a touch of it or something. Okay. I don't know. He's been saying it since he was like 3.
Well, and I just love it. You were drilling that in his head.
Everybody's different. That makes everybody special.
And then I think of Syndrome. And when everyone's special, no one will be.
That took a turn.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about So good conversation. In fact, I'm glad you brought it up because I did not have Loop in my initial set of notes, but I'm glad you did.
Oh, yeah, I've got Loop on the brain. Been watching it so much.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up and reminding me of it. So awards chatter. The next upcoming one, well, actually, that's not the next upcoming one, but the Oscars, the Academy Awards, the nominations were announced officially this morning, being the 13th. The January 13th. The awards will be on February 9th, and Toy Story 4 was nominated for Best Animated Picture as well as Best Original Song with I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away from Randy Newman. And then also Kit Bull was nominated, another contender of the Spark Shorts program was nominated for Best Short Film. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool to see some good nominations out there. Obviously, the surprise of Frozen 2 not being included in that group. There was quite a bit of outrage. There's outrage on everything.
But I know. I was actually shocked at that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good film. Mm-hmm. It had great elements. It was visually great. I mean, sometimes, I hate to say it, there's just these times that happen in awards, and there's been times that we've been shocked, like when Finding Dory wasn't nominated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's snubs every year, and they are never not shocking.
Yeah. Every category.
Every category has one. Yeah, because there's only so many that they can fit in, and they want to do a representation of other films, so it's like, I don't know, it's up and down.
Well, it's all voted on the Academy members.
Correct.
So.
Yeah. But... which are broad-based. But I want to talk a little bit for a second about Randy Newman. So he was nominated, obviously, for I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away. But from a Toy Story perspective, I started looking at the other Toy Story films. Obviously, he's got other wins and nominations along the way. I don't want to dive into every one of those at this point. But he was nominated for the very first Toy Story film for the overall score, as well as You've Got a Friend in Me. And he was nominated but did not win. Do you know what won? Do you remember what won that year when he was nominated for Toy Story 1?
Yes, I do.
Ooh.
Hold on a second. I can't think of it, but yes, I just saw it today.
Oh, okay. So it's Colors of the Wind from Mulan
was?
That won.
No, that was Pocahontas. Colors of the Wind. Yeah.
That's what I meant. Mulan, yeah.
Like Reflections of Me was Mulan.
Yeah. So yes, Colors of the Wind won. But
that's a great song, though.
It is a good song.
But
think back now. I love looking back at awards and I say, which one held up better?
I know. Well, it's because You've Got a Friend in Me is basically like the theme song for all 4 Pixar films.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the parks.
And in fact, Leo asked me because we listened to Disney music in the car, and You've Got a Friend in Me came on, but it showed the Toy Story 4 artwork. And Leo's like, well, does this play? This isn't all Toy Story movies, right? And I said, well, yeah. He goes, okay, because that's Toy Story 4, like, because he can see like the album artwork on the car. And I'm just like, you're right. It is like the Toy Story. It is like the theme. And I'm like, it was in 2, right? It had to have been at some point. And then it's got to be in 3.
Just that opening, especially of the...
Yeah, so yeah, that definitely held up more than...
Now, are you also thinking of... Are you thinking of You've Got a Friend in Me?
Yeah.
Or the opening of the...
No, You've Got a Friend in Me. Okay. Like a variation of that song.
Yeah, there's always some element of it.
But you're right, though. That definitely...
I mean, that... If you think about how it has withstanded and where it's gone from,
but I will tell you
it's stronger, I think.
Yeah. Being like in 8th grade, I think I was in 8th grade in 95. Yeah. 8th grade, when Pocahontas came out, I sung the heck out of that Colors of the Wind song, thinking I was Pocahontas. Like, did my own like show in the garage because we lived in Virginia Beach, so there was like no basement. So I like acted that out. I was Pocahontas, roller skating in my garage, singing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Among other Disney and musical show tunes.
Right. Yes, you still have all your classic Disney Volume 1 through 5, I think, CDs.
Those are some CDs I just can't get rid of. Well, I know we have them all digitally, but I just physically cannot get rid of them yet.
So, I would say that Toy Story held up a little bit better and is more universally known at this point.
Yes.
But That doesn't mean it should have won because of that. Mm-hmm. But I would have said so, but regardless. Toy Story 2, he was nominated for When She Loved Me, so the Sarah McLachlan sung song that he wrote. Do you know who won against that one? Because he was nominated but didn't win.
What year was this?
Well, so it was films from 99. The award show was in 2000.
No.
No what?
No, I don't remember.
I thought you were telling me, no, it's not from 99. No. I'm like, well, Toy Story 2?
I don't know the song that won.
Okay, so it was You'll Be in My Heart from Tarzan by Phil Collins.
Well, I agree with that. And I hate to say it.
I do too.
Okay.
I do too. We don't have to like just because it's Toy Story or Randy Newman or Pixar.
I've never been a fan of that Jessie song.
Okay, well that's a problem.
I know it is, and we've
talked. Song.
I know, and we've talked about this with our friend Giovanni too, I believe, because he loved that song too.
Everybody loves that song. So are we talking about like Jessie, or are we talking about the song?
The song.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
And I'm not talking about Jessie as a character. I'm just talking about that song. Right, I've never been like. It's always been like, okay, yeah.
Did you cry the first time?
No.
You didn't get teary-eyed?
Well, I got teary-eyed when Jessie got left in the box, yes, but it wasn't, I don't think, the song. It was just like the thought process. I've never really been a fan of that song.
Oh, boy. This I did
not know. But
I'll
tell you, Tarzan, though, I cried my eyes out, that scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great song.
It is a great song.
I mean, plus we love Phil Collins.
Love him.
We got his autograph.
Yeah, we stand Phil Collins. Is that what the kids are saying nowadays?
No, but we stalked him.
Yeah.
Because we chased his van.
We did.
We saw him in concert.
I saw his band.
Well, okay, fine. We were third row for a Phil Collins concert, just by luck getting those seats.
It was a month before we got married.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a month or a week. It was something like that.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was very close.
So it was 05.
So, yeah. And so we were like, I bet we know what hotel he's staying at.
I was of course I know what hotel he's staying at.
Yeah. And we guessed which van he was in.
Yeah, because there's two of them.
Yeah. And we just followed it, and we saw him. We didn't like attack him.
No.
But we parked, we ran out, and we saw him walking in, and
his tour manager came out and got our tickets and said, I'll go have him sign it for you. Because the hotel obviously was not letting anyone in.
It's a very high-end hotel that everybody that comes to town basically stays at.
Well, I knew we picked the right hotel when there was like the autograph hounds outside.
Right. Yeah, that they already knew. But yes, so that's a great song.
Good story.
Memories. And then he won for We Belong Together for Toy Story 3, which the other songs he was up against, I was kind of like, I didn't even write down which ones it was, but he won.
Yeah. I did like that song now.
Yeah, but if you're putting it in terms of like, I still like You've Got a Friend in Me better.
Yeah, I do too.
Than We Belong Together. It's not like We Belong Together is not a great song, but to me, there's no comparison to You've Got a Friend in Me. It's like the ultimate timeless animated Pixar song.
I know. Well, that's the total Ken and Barbie song to me. I only see them.
Well, it's all about everybody being all together.
I know, but I visually only see Ken and Barbie.
Okay. Because they do that montage scene with them?
Yeah, but that's like the only thing like when I hear that song and stuff, I only see them.
Okay.
So I feel like that's like their theme.
Got it. It's not.
I know, but for me it is.
All right, so also this last Sunday, the 12th, the Critics' Choice Awards happened, and Toy Story 4 won for that. So congratulations to the Toy Story 4 crew for that, Josh Cooley and team. And then the Visual Effects Awards, which are going to be airing on January 29th, they actually, or I shouldn't say airing, they're online.
I don't even think those are online.
Well, that's true. They're just going to tweet this.
Yeah.
They're just going to
Annie Awards, I think, are the only thing
that streams.
Yeah.
But the Visual Effects Awards, they got nominated for Outstanding Visual Effects in an Animated Feature, Outstanding Animated Character in an Animated Feature for Bo Peep, Outstanding Created Environment in an Animated Feature for The Antiques Mall, Outstanding Visual Cinematography in a CG Product, and Outstanding Effects Simulation in an Animated Feature. So lots of cool stuff there.
Yeah.
So that's actually going to be pretty exciting. We're in award season. It's officially here. It has been, but it's expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess since we haven't talked about it since our last podcast, Missing Link pulled home the Golden Globe win at this year's Golden Globes. So that was a surprise as well, just in terms of, I like when, I mean, that film was rated very highly. Mm-hmm. It got good fan and critic reviews, so it shouldn't be a surprise. It just becomes a surprise when you love a Pixar or Disney film as much as we do.
Right.
And it's also like, oh, the big studio's behind it and da-da-da, but that doesn't guarantee anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it's going to be interesting because the BAFTAs are coming up next. The BAFTAs are next, I believe.
Okay.
So they're still in January, or it's February 2nd or something like that.
And then you got home turf, basically, because that's a British-made film, right?
Well, not only that, but your favorite.
What, Wallace and Gromit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Aardman's great. I love Aardman.
I know. They're up for the Farmageddon. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, Farmageddon with a Shaun the Sheep movie.
Yeah.
Which somehow or another is just, they said it was coming to the theaters here, and I've seen like every one of those movies in the theater.
Yes.
Including when I was in the theater by myself at Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
You were on business out of town.
I was, and I was like, when it came out, I got to go see it.
Yep.
So yeah, I went to the theater. I was eating, I walked in, I started laughing. I was the only one in there. I was eating Junior Mints, and a worker came in and started sweeping and didn't even know I was in there. And all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, those are great films
Laughing my bottom off.
Yes,
by
it'll
myself.
Be interesting because Frozen 2 is nominated too, I believe, and Klaus.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, lots of good animated films this year.
I know, it really is.
Yeah. All right, so let's transition to Onward because that's the bulk of what we're here for, and we've been chatting for a while.
Like 37 minutes about various random things.
All right, so let's talk about, so you went out in October, as we've already established, to Pixar to dive into behind-the-scenes looks to learn more about Onward. This was a similar event, or how was this event different from other press events?
I guess different for the fact that I had food poisoning from my hotel food.
All right.
So the day I had to do all my interviews, I wasn't feeling great. So that was different.
Yeah.
But you never would have known. I mustered through. But yeah, no, it was very similar to like the other, press events that we've been very fortunate to attend. With the exception, I did VR.
Okay, so talk about why they did VR. What was
the experience? And I totally felt
like
I was in a Silicon Valley episode. I felt like I was Richard Hendricks I was puking, but it was earlier in the day, but not because of the VR.
Right. Okay, so let's actually just back up real quick. So for those that haven't listened to the podcast or maybe just need a quick refresher, what happens at the press events in general, like high level? Yeah,
so high level, it's like a day and a half. So basically that first day is an evening event at the studio. So you basically go to the studio, you watch about 45 minutes of the film. I think we watched like 33. And then we watched Float. So we were able to watch the Pixar short film, or Spark Shorts Float, that hadn't been released yet. And then the filmmakers come out, they give a little discussion about it, and then we break. We go, normally it's in the Brooklyn building, sometimes it's in the Steve Jobs building in the upper.
Steve Jobs building is the main building, and then Brooklyn is the
Steve Jobs building is the atrium. So it's
the original Pixar building.
Yeah.
When they moved
the beauty shots that they always showcase
when they moved to
online.
1200 Park Avenue.
Yeah. From Richmond Point?
Point Richmond.
Yeah.
From Point Richmond. Yeah. And then the Brooklyn building is the one that the development of the films, the really early development of films is taking place, and then Steve Jobs building is where
Brooklyn building. They're
actually, basically
like your phones don't come out of your pocket ever when you step into Brooklyn.
When press goes in, not employees.
Yeah, So we actually stayed in the Steve Jobs building, and we went upstairs. Again, like if you leave the ground floor of the atrium, the Steve Jobs building, your phones just don't take pictures of anything because it's all concept art. Then you're walking by offices, and those people are working offices. So they're working on films that haven't even been announced yet. So then you just have like a meet and greet and like appetizers and food and such. Then you go back to the hotel, like I did, and I ordered room service and got sick. But the next day is the main day, the main event. So you eat breakfast, you get there at like 7 a.m., you eat a light breakfast. You can go shopping in the store if it's open. Sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not. And then you break into groups. So you break into about 4 or 5 groups and you go into sessions. So it's like a story session, a production session, like all different ones. Then there's like roundtable discussion with the filmmakers. So that would be like the director, producer. And they sit down and you ask them questions. And that's
what we're going to chat about on this podcast. We're going to share that interview that you had with Dan Scanlon and Kori Rae, director and producer. But what else were you going to say about the rest of the day? I mean,
so it's just, and then you eat lunch, you can go shopping. There's always like a fun activity. This press event, it was the VR experience.
So what did you do with that and why did they have it?
Yeah, you know what? I don't quite know why they had it because they used a lot of VR tech when like kind of
location scouting.
Right. Thank you. I couldn't get
So yeah, they were doing some location scouting for the film and they wanted to utilize it. They wanted to play around with it for that. But the element here, so this is a very slight spoiler, but if you've seen the most recent trailer, you may have noticed a scene where Ian and Barley, the 2 main characters, are at a big cliff/chasm and they have to get across this.
Yeah, they have to cross this like ravine.
And Barley comes up with the solution, which is that they need to do this trust bridge. And so your opportunity to put on VR, the VR headset and play with this was to be able to replicate in some way that trust bridge?
Yes, there was 2 VR experiences. So I first did the trust bridge one, which you put these goggles on, you walk up these stairs and you step off like about 1.5 feet and you fall into a mat, but you just kind of like, I looked down to make sure because I mean, it was a fairly big leap. I didn't want to like fall because I was wearing boots with a heel, like heeled boots. So I wanted to make sure I didn't twist my ankle. But so I kind of like looked down and I could see, through the glasses that I wasn't going to fall. But it was very realistic. So it makes you're just looking around and you look down, like if I like bent my head
your
down.
Head down, right.
Rather than just like my eyes, like it looked like I was like, I'm going to fall. Like I'm going to just disappear into
this. So they
this.
didn't have you do like a fake incantation or anything like that. Like it was just to experience.
Yeah,
like,
no, it was just.
Would it mess with your mind if you were up there and you saw this big cliff and you stepped down?
Yes. So that was very realistic. That was cool. But the second VR experience was the one that I liked the most.
Okay.
And it was really cool. So it was, you put the glasses on and you could walk around Guinevere, the van. So you could see all the details on the outside.
Oh, wow. And the real van was there, though.
The real van was there.
So, yeah, you got to see the real van and the VR van.
Yeah. I know. It's funny because when I saw the real, like, Guinevere van, I was like, oh, my gosh, I kind of feel bad because, like, we kind of leaked that information without knowing.
Hey,
We didn't.
We saw it on social media and therefore shared it.
It was on the Disney lot and shared it.
A Disney employee shared it.
Yes.
We cannot be held liable for sharing what a Disney employee shares.
Yeah, because it was like a month before D23 when it was there. But it was really exciting to see it since we didn't make it to D23 this past year. But so then after you walked around the van, if you stood in the, like, looking at the van, you walked through it. And then I was in the van.
Oh, cool.
And that was cool because you couldn't go inside the van at the studio that was outside.
Right.
And seeing the van inside and like looking around and seeing the tape decks and the details.
Yeah, what you got to tell us. Like, was there something that stood out or that, like how the lighting was on the sides of the van?
Yeah,
what did you notice?
Yeah, everything like from the movie was there. It was just cool seeing, like feeling like I was in it. Like you couldn't get like super close to the details and stuff, but because it was like still like VR kind of like.
Sure.
But
it's a little blocky.
Yeah, it was like, well, it wasn't blocky. It was just kind of like fuzzy almost in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, I like that better than the truss bridge thing, just
cool.
because it was like, I like stayed in there and I was like, I'm just one more minute, because no one was there.
Right.
But like my interviews were coming for my second interview and then my interview got delayed. And so I was like, okay, I've got 3 more minutes to stay in. And I was just like looking around and the VR people are probably like,
Okay, lady, it's just the inside of a van.
Yeah, nobody really cared about the van. Everyone liked the truss bridge one. And meanwhile, I'm just like,
ooh, the van.
Standing in a circle, just spinning around. Like, I wish I would have asked the guy to like video me. Yeah. But there was so much concept art on the wall because we were in like the room where they did the production design.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't tell you that?
It's almost as if you didn't tell me anything. No, it's because you came home on Halloween and it was just like all systems go for going right to that. So
I know I was up. I know I was up for like 48 hours.
Right. So there's little things that I didn't hear, and I didn't hear about the VR experience, but I actually didn't ask you about it because I wanted to know more about it. So that's and I wanted to have my natural reaction. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And I think, has this been my first virtual reality experience?
Yeah, you've never used it before. I haven't either.
Yeah,
I haven't.
I've never done anything like that.
No.
I mean, I remember when it became big, like in the 90s. Remember where they had those things in the malls? In those space circle things that used to
very early on.
I know, but they'd like
think about it in like the new terms of like the newer
like
Renaissance
Oculus and stuff. I know, but
yes,
like I never wanted to do any of that because I thought I was gonna be sick or whatever.
Yeah,
I know. Now it makes me want to do the one that's at Disney, the Star Wars one.
Yeah,
it's in Disney Springs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very cool. Okay, so obviously as part of this, you got to, like we mentioned, talk with Dan and Kori. The group session, we'll talk about that in a second. But just without spoiling anything, like, what was your experience like talking with Dan and Kori on a one-on-one basis? Were you nervous going in for that? You mentioned, yes. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say. I was I was laughing. The sniffles. Yeah, I got the sniffles. I was laughing because at the beginning of any interview, you were like, okay, so my husband and I love this, but I get a little nervous. Like
I do, because I feel like I'm total color commentary.
Especially, I think it's funny too, because even with like Kelsey Mann, who you've talked to a bunch of times,
I know
you were still nervous.
I do. And you know what's funny is I don't get nervous talking to people. Like just in like just one-on-one. Right. But when I have that darn recorder,
it gets real.
I don't know why. It's like I'd rather just talk to them without the recorder. Or when like the door shuts and then it's just you hear like the humming of the air conditioning. It's like, oh man. And I'm just
and they're waiting for you to go. They're not like you have to start it, drive it, go with it.
I know.
Yeah, it's not easy.
And another thing is like I was really thrown off because like with some of these because one of my interviews got switched. Yeah. So I had to come up with questions within like 2 minutes for people that I was not prepared for. I had for a whole different department that I was interviewing.
Right.
So, and that was my first interview. So I got thrown off and I was like, that made me even more nervous.
Of course. Absolutely.
I mean, and I knew I was interviewing Kelsey and Maddie, so I was prepared, but still I was just like, I don't know why. I think it's just like you're in a room, they're sitting there.
Right.
And I mean, like, they're very warm and gracious and super nice.
You have pressure. You have pressure because you feel like you want to come up with good questions that are going to be smart, you know.
Yeah, because you come up with really great questions.
You do too.
Oh, well, thank you. But I just feel like even like when we've interviewed people like on our podcast, like on the phone and stuff, I'm the color commentary person. I'm just like the ad lib person.
Well, don't think of yourself that way.
I know you say that all the time, but that's kind of just like, but I mean, in general, like talking to someone in person, like, I chat more, I think.
Agreed.
Well, maybe you're a little more outgoing sometimes, especially at the studio, meeting up with like people, but I don't know. I just get so nervous.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it would be different if we both were there, because I think we would both kind of like relax each other a little.
Yeah. Well, you're always so calm.
On the outside.
Oh, okay.
I get nervous. I get nervous as well. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, I hate to say it, but like,
I feel like it is such a big deal for us because like, I don't know, we find this like, this is kind of like a dream for us that we even are invited to be a part of this. Correct. And to like experience this. And these are artists who we like look up to and like respect. So it's like,
absolutely.
You know, I know a lot of people are like, oh, musicians and stuff. And we're like, oh, artists, awesome. You know?
Right.
So I think that kind of plays.
Well, I think a little bit of it for me in my head is like, okay, we're a Pixar themed website. If we were coming in as like Marie Claire or something, magazine,
like Forbes and stuff that was there.
Yeah, I mean, like that's not your specialty. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like we've got to be like coming up with really good questions because that's our only focus.
I know, and I feel that pressure too because like when you say that, and I'm just like, oh man.
I don't say that to you.
No, I don't. You don't say it to me, but you just say it like, oh, we're like a Pixar, and I'm like, oh man, I know, and I like take it like, oh, geez. But I always get so nervous.
But it's a ton of fun.
It is so much fun.
All right, so what is...
Like, I love it, even though I'm, like, nervous. Like,
yeah.
It's, like, the best.
So don't give away the full details of this, but I'm going to tee you up for a question that you asked. Give a sense of, like, in your one-on-one that you had with Dan and Kori, you had asked about, Dan, his brother...
Yeah, I had asked if, like, his brother, because, Onward is kind of mirroring Dan and his brother's real life.
Oddly enough, we met his brother, too.
Yes.
When they did the Monsters University charity event in Michigan, because that's where Dan's from. His brother Bill was there.
Yeah.
And so you had asked, like, about him.
Yeah.
That's why you brought him up a little bit.
Right. So I asked if, his brother had input in regards to, like, the Lightfoot brothers, for the film, and Dan had said that, no, I've kind of kept this. He knows I'm doing this film, obviously, but I kind of haven't.
What have you been doing for the last 5 years? Can't tell you.
6.5 years.
Yeah, but,
right. I've been keeping it mostly under wraps because he wants him to go in like with fresh eyes, basically. And I thought, oh my gosh, how touching. Like, I wanted to cry when he said that.
It's a movie about like two brothers
that lost their father,
based on him and his brother.
Yeah.
And he hasn't told his brother about it.
He said, the details.
I mean, obviously he's seeing trailers. He knows.
But
it is super cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to cry. I'm like, I'm going to cry just listening to him tell me this like one sentence.
Yeah. That's
I'm
pretty
like,
cool.
What a special thing.
Yeah, and you said in general, like, didn't you say in general, like his family, he's not telling too much about? Or
yeah, I think he talked to his mom about, some stuff, but like in general, he's, keeping it under wraps.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you say we play this interview? So the first portion of it will be the group interview, and then the second portion is the one-on-one. You want to play it now?
Yes, I think it's time. What has it been? 53 minutes.
Okay, so the what you're going to hear when it kicks in is we're going to pick up right where Dan starts replying as an attendee, as one of the other people in the room asks a question about the 3D process. And, does Dan think about that when he's designing the film? Does he have input towards it? So you're going to hear him jump in and answer that question regarding 3D. Oh, and one other funny thing. When they came in the room, they were talking about their seating arrangement. Talk about that for a second.
Yes, I thought it was funny because I've always seen Dan and Kori, like how they sit, like in every film, or not every film, but in every like photo and interview.
Press interview.
Yeah, because they did MU together. So they've been basically working together for like 13 straight years.
Right.
Dan's always on the left, Kori's on the right.
From the audience
perspective. From the audience perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, they've got to be sitting like this. So I sat in the front, dead center.
Right.
So I could get both of them. And I had a seat. And I was like, I bet that's going to be Dan. And like, so I kind of like arranged all my stuff. And yes. And so they joked about it.
Yeah. So what'd they say?
They just joke that, we have to sit on these are like our assigned seats. This is my like side that I have to sit on, or else I feel weird sitting.
Yeah, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. These don't work unless we do it this way, because we've always done it this way.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny.
It is funny. So it
reminded me of like you, because I only stand on one side of you.
Well, that's because you only have one good side, according to you.
I have two good sides, but one really good side.
Oh my God.
I've got confidence.
That's amazing.
I need to remember that when I go to Pixar. Confidence.
That's it. That's what everybody listening to this should take away. You, listeners, have two good sides and one really great side.
Don't let anyone tell you you've got a bad side.
You got two really
good sides,
ones.
But one stellar side.
So Mariah Carey, who says she only has one good side. That's why all the pictures of her are from one angle only.
Girl, you need a confidence boost.
I'm sure she needs a confidence boost.
I doubt it's her.
But you should tell her that when you meet her. I heard you only have one good side. You have two good sides and one really great side. That's amazing.
Go, girl.
All right, so let's play this again. Dan's going to pick up right where he's talking about the 3D process.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we kind of make the movie for just the movie's sake, for 2D.
Right.
And the stereo part of it is done after the fact by a great team here that really understand stereo and really understand what audiences who are fans of that are looking for. And so to be honest, I really work with that team and encourage them to, or trust them to do what I think people are going to find most interesting about the movie in stereo. Right. And they still ask for our opinions and notes, and we keep an eye on anything that might get off story or affect the story in a negative way.
Right.
But for the most part, we just encourage them to give people the best experience they can get for this movie. One of those things being the scene you saw yesterday where they walk over that giant cavern. I mean, that was perfect. That was one of the ones that really felt even cooler in stereo. But to answer your question, no, I don't really give it a lot of thought while I'm in the process of making the movie.
After seeing Float last night and thinking about Bow and then hearing the backstory of your film, it seems that there's so many opportunities to make personal stories here. Could you talk a little bit about that environment?
Yeah, we're super lucky, and I think it's great that Pixar really wants to tell personal stories, or at least stories that started off with a seed of truth and honesty, and then maybe dramatized after that. I think it's just, chances are, if something has happened to you, and you have real questions about it, chances are people in the world are going to have similar questions, even if they don't have the same story. And I like to believe that's why a lot of the Pixar stories have endured the test of time, is that they're based on real questions that people are asking. But it's a very exciting time, especially with the Spark program. People are telling very personal stories and very unique stories, and stories that are very unlike anything we've done before.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good time to be here. Yeah, there's a lot of good storytelling happening.
There are frequently, from my talking to other Pixar folks, moments, scenes, jokes, characters that maybe existed in an earlier version of the movie that don't quite make it to the end. Any favorites that we won't see that you wish we might have?
Well, I think hopefully some of them will be on the deleted scenes bonus material. Because, we've done a whole ton of work on a bunch of things that didn't make it into the final story. But some of there's so many good scenes that we miss that we wish could have worked in this version. But you have to really continue throughout the whole process to do what's right for the movie in the end. And so a lot of scenes, a lot of characters have to go. But we always miss Jenny. But.
And I think that probably you and I do a lot of reworking, maybe even more so than some of the other films, or at least it feels like it because it's us doing it.
Yeah.
But we have whole other movies worth of stuff that they can keep picking from for years after we're gone.
Yes.
But I think it's all in favor of getting to the best movie.
Hello. Congratulations on a beautiful film from what we've seen so far.
Thank you.
I'm curious how you guys feel about the upcoming Disney Plus and how that might affect filmmaking, or any thoughts about it, if you're excited for it, or just any thoughts?
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. More stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for the opportunities that people are getting here to do more stuff and do shorter material and therefore just kind of telling story in different ways.
Yeah, in different mediums and 2D or pencil and all kinds of various mediums as well is really fun to see.
Yeah. I mean, it's really great. I'm excited just as a fan for all the Star Wars stuff and Marvel stuff and all that. But I think it is gonna just open up a lot more possibilities for storytelling and growth here in the company too. Other people getting opportunities earlier on for a shorter project that then can move up into a film.
Yeah, and I mean I don't see it really impacting our day job, making feature films and putting out great feature films every year. I think it's kind of just additive. I don't know that I think we're excited about it, and again, excited for all the opportunities that the artists get to do their own bit of storytelling. So yeah, I think they can coexist, and I think it'll be fun. Yeah.
I'm curious, how many Easter eggs are in here that you can tell us, and what's your favorite one?
I have no idea how many Easter eggs. As you might have heard, we had a fellowship that we called that group, and they kind of helped me and Kori through the deeper fantasy cuts.
Yeah.
And so half of them I probably don't know. And then I actually just today Googled and looked up the Onward Easter egg in Toy Story 4 because I had never seen it. And, so
you missed it?
I just saw it. Yeah, I missed it when I saw it. And then, what is my favorite one? I have one that I like that I don't think anyone is going to find, and it was the only one I asked for.
Oh.
And, yeah.
You can't give it away.
No, I won't.
Yeah,
and I don't think anyone will ever find it because it's too obscure.
I like the nod we did for Soul. So you'll see something in there for the upcoming film, and I kind of like that one. It's a good one.
I shouldn't say it's the only one I asked for. I asked for all sorts of personal crap and put my dog in it and all that. I just mean it's the only fantasy related.
Right. Cool.
Hi guys.
Hi.
So my husband and I love world building, kind of like Monsters University. How you guys did the monstrification of the monster world. I kind of felt like you guys might have taken a lot of reference when building New Mushroom Toon, or I can't even say that.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, but did you guys draw reference on your past work on MU when, especially like making the inside of the Lightfoot home, like it just felt large and wood, very much so like MU. Sorry, I'm geeking out because I liked MU.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I think if anything, we try to be careful not to get too MU because the worlds are similar.
Right.
Some of that just might be because we worked on that film that we have a similar taste.
Right.
But at times we had to be a little careful on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think like anything, for the house, in the house, for instance, I mean, we're just trying to make it warm and lived in and like make it really feel like a house that two teenage boys and a mom would be living in. And so, I don't know, I think we just tried to make it as natural as possible.
So crap everywhere and stuff
exactly.
broken. Yeah. And then we, as I'm sure you saw, we tried to find ways to get a little bit of sort of an old fantasy feel in the architecture. The word I learned, crenellation, I think, was the sort of like this kind of castle-y thing. And, but yeah, that was the main thing.
Yeah.
I just want to know how you guys make decisions, like seeing everybody, the collaborative effort of all of the teams. I mean, I work with 4 other women, and we get in so many fights on things. So how do you decide what makes it through and what doesn't?
That's a great question. Yeah.
Well, in the end, I have the final say.
Exactly.
It's really easy for me.
Exactly.
I just let everyone else.
He wins.
Yeah. I just let everyone else fight it out, and then I jump on top of that. No, I think it's just a mutual respect. I mean, if anything makes it really, really hard is that everyone here is very smart and are all great filmmakers, and I respect their opinion, and that makes it difficult to make a choice because it's not like I go, well, that person's wrong. I usually think, wow, why are they saying that? There's got to be a good reason for that. And so really time helps you. I mean, we've got 5-6 years to make these, but there's always a gate closing, and so you say, okay, you check these different ideas against themselves, and then you say, all right, we're going to go with this until we're not, meaning we're going to go with this until we realize something else that makes us change the story and go the other way.
In a different direction, yeah. He gets to decide ultimately, but it is, but it's amazing how open Dan is and everyone is during the process, because we really just want to make the best choices for the film. So there are times we will debate things, and there will be times that we'll leave a review and afterwards people will come up and go, oh, I'm still not sure about this decision or about this choice, and we will keep talking about it. That's all we do all day long is make choices and decisions and trying to move everything forward. And but it's fun. It's great. But we really do try to listen for the best idea, the thing that's really best for the film. And Dan is incredibly open. If anybody has a question on the crew, it doesn't, they don't even have to be within their own department. But if anybody is questioning any decision that we make, we encourage them to come and talk to us about it. And we've changed our minds on stuff.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Kori's great with too is making time and room for it. You know what I mean? Like you're always quick to say like, we can push that. We need to make the right decision. Don't rush that. So I think that general philosophy allows for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a basic question. Where did the idea come from? Where the germ of the whole thing?
Yeah, in development, I knew I wanted to do something personal this time, and so just started working through things in my own life and asking questions of other filmmakers here and telling them about my life, and they kind of helped me find sort of pull out certain personal things. As I'm sure you've heard, my dad passed away when I was a year old and my brother was 3. So that was a biggie. That was a big question I had. And I think a lot of times movies are questions or should start off as questions. And my question was, who was he and how am I like him? Like, where am I going? And so that's where the idea came from. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be amazing if you had one day with that person? What would you say? And that's where the idea of magic came from, because we thought, well, we need to make a movie where that could be possible. And then the idea was, well, I don't want to do a period piece in like a fantasy world. That wouldn't feel as close to that. And then thought, well, why can't it be modern and be a fantasy magical place? And that led to the humor of, well, that would be ridiculous, and then we could do all these gags. And then lastly, they kind of came together when we realized, well, Ian is this character who is not living up to his full potential, who is out of fear and comfort not wanting to explore and take risks. And the world was kind of mirroring that too. Like, oh, well, if this was a world that maybe got a little too comfortable. It's never to say that this is a movie about science or technology being bad. It's really about baby with the bathwater. They've lost a little bit of their specialness in taking the easy route. And so over time, over 5 years, the personal story and the world story came together, which I think is ideally the hardest thing to do and what you want out of a good film. But that was really the genesis of it.
Bringing together a couple of earlier questions, everyone has done a lot of work to put together this quite impressive urban fantasy world. And there is going to be this nice new platform available for potentially expanding stories into something more. Would you be interested in continuing Onward and maybe as a Disney Plus series or potentially a sequel? Is there enough in this world that you created to do that?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're just trying to land this one. But I love the world and I love the characters. But yeah, we don't know.
No plans yet. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens next year after we get this one out to the world. But yeah, no ideas or plans yet.
So we saw a cool picture of day one as the story was getting started. Can you give us just a sense of what you were feeling and thinking on that day and kind of compare it to what you're feeling today?
Yeah.
Pure terror.
Relief. There was a board behind me with just one Post-it on it. That one Post-it was an idea for a different movie that I didn't make. So I had nothing on Onward at all, no start whatsoever. And I think what's really hard in development is we have this great group here that work in the development department who can help you with reference and they can talk to you about story. They can really, really help you a lot. But the hard part is they would say, like, if you need Xeroxes of photos of something, or if you need reference of this, just let us know. And I think, reference of what? I have no idea. I really need someone just with flashcards of images or something. It's just so tricky to come up with something from nothing. And And so, yeah, Kori and Kelsey and I were back on that first day, and I don't even know what we did other than pin up that one
I don't know.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one point in development where, you know, they were like, well, come on, give us something to do. And they're like, just let's print out a bunch of images that Dan likes.
Right.
And then it was the wall of brown.
Yeah, it was a lot brown, which you go up to the gallery. But yeah, it's a really scary thing, and it's a very private and lonely thing. Even though you do have a lot of help, you do have to dig into yourself and think about your life and talk to people and talk to your friends, and it's like therapy.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and yeah.
And now you're on the other end of it, where you're making notes on the typography on the ad that's going to go on a bus stop, and it's so the opposite end because you're really boiling every little detail down.
Exactly. Yeah, it goes from nothing to then just the minutia that you're finishing to create the whole world, and it's kind of crazy. And it's the beautiful thing is you have a little of amnesia. So we kind of forget that horrific first year or two where you're just coming in every day and trying to figure out what the hell movie you're making. And but it's, so luckily we're just in the moment and enjoying, going to the score, going to the mix, doing all this fun post-production stuff where we get to sit back and look at everybody else's amazing work and comment on it and give notes to finish up the film. But this part's way easier.
Yes.
So VR has become a new staple for storytelling, and I'm curious, since you guys work in animation and use virtual cameras to essentially shoot your stories, has there been any discussion or desire to use VR as a way to allow audiences to explore your worlds, maybe see stories from a different perspective?
Not a whole lot, but
not maybe in this storytelling process. I mean, as you may have seen, we used some of it in the scouting of the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think there's been some VR stuff done here. Didn't Coco do?
Coco did a really great piece. Yeah.
But
little
we
shorter
personally
subject.
haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, it's not. We've been focused on this in terms of the future. I haven't seen that much VR, to be honest with you. I've just been heads down working on this thing. We use it as a tool a little bit for layout and camera, but
talk about your wonderful voice cast. Where did you record them? Up here, down there, and at what point do you bring in the vocal talent during? How visually developed is the film at that point? And then how much do their performances then inform finishing the visuals, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. We have a really, really great cast, but it was challenging. This was a challenging film to cast, actually. I think because we had, a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, and just even from a performance standpoint, it's like, what age actor do you try to go out to? You want someone with the, solid acting chops, but someone who still sounds 16. And so the process was lengthy, and we designed the characters first. So we kind of create the characters on the page and writing, and then we start designing. And then it's not until we kind of get closer to the actual start of production that we really aim to kind of start recording them and everything. But so finding Tom Holland was fantastic. It took a little while for us, again, like I said. But once we we met with him and then cut in some of his other stuff just to test it out, his other dialogue from his other films and everything, and realized that he was just right for Ian, that he had the right amount of kind of nervousness and shyness, and yet is such a great actor that he can really do the emotional scenes. And I think that was that we needed somebody, we needed actors who could both do comedy as well as we just knew that there was a lot of emotion and a lot of real emotional scenes in the film. And so we just needed actors who could do both. So you want to talk a little bit about Chris?
Yeah, and then Chris came after that, and we really, everyone was saying Star-Lord and Spider-Man. We really didn't give that a lot of thought.
We didn't.
It really was just that Chris embodied the chaotic, wild part of Barley, and also that he has a charm that allows him to get away with being a little annoying, which he has to be at times. And he has that big brother quality, and it does help that they do know each other, and that Chris is a little bit like a big brother to Tom in their relationship. I think helped a lot. And but as far as we record a lot of times down in LA, but we do record here too sometimes. And I know Chris and Tom and Octavia all recorded up here at one point or another.
Yep, for sure. We went to London once for Tom, I think. So. And
it's a mix. We'll kind of go wherever they are. We want to make it easy for them, and then we get a free trip to London. And
for 18 hours.
Yeah. Awesome. But then they bring so much to it, and whether it's improvising a little bit or just the way you just start to realize the way in which they're funny specifically, and then write for them, or the way in which they're emotional. And some things that you had written before don't end up working.
Right.
Once you get the real actor, and you have to make adjustments.
Totally.
Dan, I noticed you did a lot of the scratch work in front, and you also did the green screen when you were doing the dads. You seemed like you had a very intimate understanding of these characters, but I'm curious how other team members may have shaped or really added some different insights into who these people are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many other people involved. Other writers, other story artists, and then the character designers, I think, really add a lot to visually showing who this character is. And again, like I was saying, the story artists, they're always. It took a while to find Ian, and sometimes that just happens with a character. You need to find that characterization, that one thing, that one choice they made that is playable. And so finding one moment where you're like, oh, you're the kind of person who would do this. And sometimes that is just a story artist will nail that. On Monsters University, we had the character of Art, who was sort of a nothing character for a long time. And then one story artist added the line where he said, I can't go back to jail. And we thought, oh, he's that kind of college student. He's the guy you know nothing about who's had a crazy past. And so I'm always keeping my eye out. I mean, I'm always looking for it myself as a writer. But I'm always looking for something a story artist might add in a moment to think, oh, we could all riff on that, because once you hear even a line like I can't go back to jail, now all of us could write that character. We've always known people like that. And it took a while for Ian, because Ian is a person who wants to just blend in and is shy and awkward, and so he doesn't necessarily have that playable thing. It wasn't until we got to more of the fumfering, awkward stuff that Tom Holland does so well that we all thought, oh, he's all of our horrible 16-year-old selves, all of us artists who want to hide and not be seen. He's every awkward moment you've ever had embodied in a character. And then he's also the opposite of Barley. He's just everything Barley isn't, and Barley is super confident and wild, and he's everything we wish we were in some ways.
All right, I'm going to get very specific here. This is about a location that I've seen in the concept art, and I believe in part of the film that we screened. But in Incredibles 2, there's a nod to a very famous hotel near the Disney studios called Safari Inn. Looks just like it. In this movie, there's a building that looks a lot like the Tam O'Shanter, which is a restaurant near the Disney studios. Do you know if that's intended?
It's not, but I do like the Tam O'Shanter. Maybe spending Thanksgiving there. I never really thought of that. I mean, we looked at a lot of places like that, those kind of old, awesome places. It's funny though.
Tavern kind of thing.
Tavern-y places. I think it's more in that vibe, but it wasn't intended, but it does have that feel for sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the areas that Pixar excels in is your voice actors perfectly match the design of the characters. I think that's something that a lot of other animated movies seem to miss the point on, and when they go for big name casts. And I wonder, does the animation of the characters and the design change after any at all after you get the voice cast, or is that just a testament to how good the animators are in matching what the voice actors do?
Yeah, it's the latter. Yeah, we because the characters are really fully designed before we get the talent in. But I think you were saying yesterday, Dan, just how it's all about the characterization, and so when we're looking for in the example of Chris Pratt, it's kind of like when we're talking about him, we're like, he's big and he's kind of over the top, but he's lovable and he's all these things that kind of like, that is kind of does describe Chris Pratt and some of the roles that he's played.
There's a reason that's probably not going to be a little tiny short guy or something.
Exactly.
There's a reason that we're trying to design a visual representation of that character, and chances are if you have that voice, you probably have that look a little bit. Exactly. So it is pretty common that actors will come in and go, that looks like me. But then you were saying yesterday about the animation.
Yeah, then the animators are absolutely, then they're the ones who really bring it to life because they study the actors, they study the tapes of the recording sessions, and kind of in an effort to get every bit of the nuance that the actors have when they're performing. And so they use a lot of that, and you'll probably especially notice it in this film, or I do anyhow, is the role of Mom, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There's some specific things that she does that are very her, that the animators pick up on. And so even though the character doesn't look really anything like Julia, you might think that she does because the way of her speech pattern and even the way her mouth shape goes is similar to Julia. And so you kind of, that's the transference a little bit. So it's really, the animators just do a phenomenal job of really, really capturing who the actors are and incorporating that into the film and into the characters.
So that's all the time we have. Thank you, Dan and Kori.
But one question I'm dying to ask, is Kori named after you?
Surprisingly, I don't think so. Not really.
It's sort of a happy accident because we wanted a shorter version of the Manticore and something very today. Okay. So when I was thinking, what would that be? It'd be Kori. So it's a happy homage.
It's spelled differently.
It's deliberately spelled a shorter version.
Because it's Manticore, because it's based off that. But yeah, I think it was a happy accident.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional.
But I love that it is now.
Yeah. And someone had asked about Easter eggs. But you mentioned Blazy, or your dog.
Yeah.
And I totally felt like Blazy is Carol.
Right.
Kind of had the scare pig thing.
Yeah.
Was that kind of
absolutely. So Carol. We wanted to add a dog-like character because we wanted Ian's house to be chaotic and like every family, and we thought, to really amp that up, they need a dog, and of course dogs in this world would be dragons. And and then of course I immediately thought of Carol, who's the love of my life, and drew little Carol dragons, and then the art department even looked at pictures of Carol like they did with Archie, and then they came up with this amazing design that has little bits of Carol, always a little wall-eyed, yes, so we love Blazy.
Exactly.
And she's super, super fun just to add to a scene, and it's such a unique version of a dog-like character.
Totally.
Very difficult to animate.
Yep.
But
indeed.
Worth it.
Got it. So with the dad, Wilden, having purple socks, was that a early story element that he was going to have purple socks because he's only pants?
Right.
So if he's in a crowded room in a chaos scene, you can be like, Dad.
Yeah.
Or was there kind of more to the storyline on a personal relationship?
No, it was more to recognize that it was him when he was first appearing.
Yep.
I think that's literally where it started.
For it to stand out and that they were somewhat, I think purple because my recollection, there's so many meetings that happened around the socks, but was that they were a little magical, that purple was associated was maybe he, since he had to learn magic in order to write the spell and everything, that we were trying to kind of do something that was unique also.
It also
fit his character.
It also has to do with something color-wise at the end that you haven't seen yet.
That's right.
And But the initial beginning of it was some way just to know, oh, I heard that detail about him. This is definitely him.
Yeah.
And to tie it in, to tie it in a little bit with him being a little more outgoing, even if it is just purple socks, which isn't wildly outgoing, but compared to Ian, that's a brash, crazy thing to do.
Oh, because he said like he's an accountant.
Yeah.
It's like what I used to do in my career. I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Got it.
And it's just like everyone else is like very like when I heard that in the trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so like cookie cutter, just like beige. And then when I have purple socks, I'm like, okay, so he's got like a little
flair,
little something. Yeah.
All right. So Dan, any part of this story, did it seem like it was too much to share? Like it was too personal of a story to share?
Right.
Or was it like, yes, I want my story to be told?
Yeah, no. The good thing is Pixar is so... there's just so much trust and vulnerability here, and other filmmakers are so open to vulnerability, and I think we all want to tell true stories, or I don't want to say true stories, we all want to tell honest stories. And so I never really felt like something, at least from my recollection, was too much. If anything, I was a little afraid of like oversharing, meaning I didn't want to try to hijack it and say, oh, this is my autobiography. But luckily, early on, people who joined the team had their own stories that weren't even related to brothers, but were about very similar relationships, and or related to fathers, very similar relationships that we started to pull from. And the cool thing was I probably kind of let off the personal stuff for a while just to let these guys grow and these characters grow. And Kori and the rest of the team were really good at saying, like, we need a little more, like, you're letting go too soon, and there's specificity still out there that we could mine. And they really encouraged me, which was super helpful, to not be afraid to overshare or,
or share all the details,
right.
or really, because it was super helpful to have that information. And again, not even if we didn't use it verbatim, you know what I mean, in the movie, whether it was a moment or an emotion or a whatever, like it was just it's information that all gets used in this big, crazy, as you're in story for all these years. And so it was really important that we kind of came back often to, okay, that's great, we're creating these characters and everything. What was your experience? And making sure that we had that at its core. Because anything you can pull from real life is going to be the most useful, I think, in terms of telling stories.
Right.
Yeah.
So were you able to, did your brother kind of chat with you and share other insights, or was it basically your story?
No, I talked to my mom more than anyone. I didn't talk to my brother about it. I've kind of kept it as a secret from my brother. I think all of us here work on projects for so long that they get a little stale, and so it's nice to keep one person who it's a total secret for. And obviously, since this is so personal, I kind of want to surprise him with it. He knows what's happened online and everything. But I talked to my mom a lot and got information from her, since she's a part of this as well, and that was super helpful early on.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I learned a lot of things I didn't know that I wouldn't know if I hadn't started this. And I think that's the joy of doing personal things in your art, is you're gonna benefit in your life too, and hopefully other people will too, because they'll connect with it.
Right. Yeah, you kind of mentioned that story, and kind of how when Ian meets the dad's friend in the breakfast shop in the fast food chain, like how that story unfolds, I thought was beautiful. I thought, what a way to explain something, and then how his facial expressions change. How you just said, I learned stuff from my mom that I never knew, and here he is learning something about his dad. Yeah. And he's just oh, please tell me more. And then it's I just loved that. I thought that was incredible. Wow. And then when the Conjuring scene comes up and you're that's obviously dead, because we see the feet.
Yeah. I think when there's someone in your life who you didn't know, boy, every little piece of them is amazing and is something. And I think I actually think that is where the pants came from. Every little piece of them is wonderful to you. Yeah. They've got a piece of them. They've got half of them. But it's not the whole thing, but it's something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of always geek about details. Like I know in MU I told you about like, oh my gosh, the backpacks and the sky during like the scene.
Totally.
Like the outside scene. The linoleum.
Yes.
On the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
The shine.
It's pretty
and then
great.
The milk soaking into the carpet.
It's weird you mentioned linoleum because in a meeting the other day I was like,
someone else about the linoleum.
I was like, the linoleum looks great, and it does look like the linoleum we all had in our kitchens growing up in that era.
Absolutely, because it was like dented and like I just was like, I wrote linoleum and then I wrote like cereal soaking milk, into the carpet. I was like, oh my goodness. So I like love those. Is that something that the other like the sim team and the effects team kind of do, or do you kind of like say notes?
No, we would very generally say this is the kind of house we want them to live in. This is the era, or this is the feel of it. We and the art team and the sets team are so fabulous about then going through every little detail, and then you get to see the whole thing, and you might say like, oh no, I don't want that kind of linoleum, I want this. But generally, they make the choices based on the character and the type of house they might live in, and the type of
what the characters need, what the story needs, and what the feeling is when we're in that room. So then what palette is it? Everything is every detail is thought out, but all based on what the need of the story is. You know what I mean? It all calls back to that. So milk soaking into the carpet is like that's life with two teenage boys.
It's just like how it went. I was just like, oh my gosh, my son just did that.
Well, I do think one of the
exactly
things
like that.
One of the things we talked about early on was I didn't want this to be a super clean house because there's two teenage boys in it. We probably could have gone much further. I think we started to realize if you went too further, it just started to look weirdly neglectful. But I mean, my house was a mess growing up because my poor mom had to deal with us running around. So I do love that there's like scratches and crap on the. I remember with the sofa saying like, put some scratches on. There's no way that would sustain those two boys all those years.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the group interview as well as the one-on-one interview that we shared. Always great to get that level of insights, to hear those kind of things. There was one thing in that a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about since you were there, but one in particular. So Kori mentioned, when they were talking about was there a particular scene or elements that were cut from the film. That she said, oh, well, we always miss Jenny to Dan. Mm-hmm. And he kind of just, he was already on to like the next topic, so it didn't really pause. Nobody kind of circled back on it. Do you know anything about Jenny or what that was?
I don't.
Okay. And I didn't know if you had seen like concept art and somebody named Jenny or anything.
Yeah, and what's funny is like I'm racking my brain and I might have seen something, I might have heard something, and it might just be gone from my memory. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot that you take in there.
There is.
It's a day and a half really crammed.
It is.
It's fast.
It is. Yeah. But yeah, no, nothing that like I can think of.
Maybe we'll find something. We've got two other opportunities that like, just open in case, if we don't talk to Dan or Kori again. We have the Art of Onward book that's going to be coming out. So we can look in that to see if there's concept art of Jenny and learn a little bit more there. And then also on the Blu-ray, hopefully they'll have the director's commentary track. And maybe something will come up in there about it too. Or even on some of the deleted scenes, we might see something in there. But keep that in mind, everybody, as you hear some of these things. Like Kori really sound like there was like a character that sounds like it might have been a little further along that had some more details through Jenny.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, and the other thing that I thought was really cool is just really diving into hearing both Dan and Kori talk about the respect that they have, not only for each other, but the comments and feedback throughout the process, how they're asking people throughout the studio.
The fellowship that they created.
Well, that was really more for like the insights, right? Like as far as like...
Well, creating like this magical world, like the books and just like how the world like exists with the magic.
Yes.
And everything.
Yeah, no.
The lore of everything.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it, but that was really more of like a brain trust within a brain trust.
Yeah.
The fellowship.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great. But I thought it was cool, like when they were talking about, like all the movies, when they do the screenings every quarter.
Oh, yes.
And they get feedback. So,
yes.
And Kori was talking about the fact that they don't necessarily, like, sure, there might be some times that they have discussions about it, but Dan, kind of talked about, that it's not that he just puts his foot down and says, this is how it's going to be. It's really more of, everybody here is such a smart and good filmmaker. I have to make decisions based on what they say because they're obviously saying it for a reason and it's a smart decision. But I thought it was cool that Dan said, and one thing that's great with Kori is that she makes time for feedback. He said, you're always quick to say, we can push that. We need to make the right decision. Don't rush it. So I think that's cool that, even though you've got these seasoned filmmakers, they're always still so open and explorative and wanting that input. So I think that's cool. I thought that was like always a good thing. The other thing that I thought of from hearing this, and even more so hearing about the Fellowship, please tell me there's going to be a role-playing game for Onward.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Can I please go on the quest?
You're right. You know what they should have done, or what they should do, which was
finger in the air.
Yeah, which was never done with MU. The scare cards that never came out through MU.
Yeah.
But Onward should have like a magic, like the magic game.
I mean, there's a million things you can do here.
But
yes.
Onward, like magic style.
I'm agreeing with you. Yes.
Card game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I want a quest pack.
Yeah. I know. Well, you play that Topps online game, so I'm sure there's going to be Onward cards if that app is still...
there will be, if that app is still, it's not going anywhere. It's Disney Collect by Topps. It's a fantastic, fun game, which I have no idea why it's fun. It's collecting digital cards, but it reminds me of when I was a kid and got to open packs and get different cards, so it's fun. So, but yeah, I still want a dice rolling adventure role-playing game for Onward. I want to go on the quest.
I want, like...
I be ready.
I don't know if I should, like, fully say this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can say it. There's a book in the film.
Yeah.
And I want this book. I hope
is it the one that Barley reads all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We saw that in the trailer. It's in the...
Okay.
It's in the first poster, right?
Yeah, well, I've seen...
Ian's reading it in the van?
Yeah, I've seen more details. Yeah, from artist Paul Conrad, and it was unbelievable. Like, I want a replica of this book. I would read it.
Yeah.
Like, just like, and I'm sure it'll be like, I don't know, like a silly like replica, but I want like a legit replica.
Yeah, there is one that's listed that has that type of cover.
Yeah.
But it's like
a smaller binding of it. I want like a thick book that kind of looks like
that. I want it to look like an official
that would be amazing.
Like mythical book.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree. I want one like that too. I want like a leather bound gold foil leaf.
Yeah. You knew what I was trying to say. Yes.
Awesome.
Holding the mic and screaming. Yeah.
All right. So what do you think? Does that about wrap up this
episode?
episode?
I think this is done.
I think this is done.
Put a fork in it. We're done.
Put a forky in it.
Ooh.
So be sure to stay tuned to our next episode as well, where we're going to continue to explore some of these Onward sessions that you had, as this one's going to be again with Kelsey Mann and Maddie Sharafian, as we dive into some of the story session, and we'll talk about you drawing Barley, and they taught you how to do the story version of Barley, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that about wraps up this episode of the Pixar Post podcast. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or heck, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Lastly, if you like today's show, let us know. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, leave a comment on our site, or send us an email at info@pixarpost.com. Signing off as usual, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to pixarpost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.